If you take a look in your lab book, this picture will be in your lab book, as is true of all of the pictures that I'm using in this lecture series. I just want to stick as closely to the lab book as possible. Okay, so what we're looking at here are planes or sections of the body, and you can see that the body can basically be divided up into X, Y, and Z planes of space. So you can think of, for example, a surgeon doing a slice into the body, and depending on what the surgeon wants to take a look at, they might slice in this way here, or they might slice in this way here. It just really depends on what you're looking for. I did want to say that we want to start off with two terms that oftentimes are not covered in the textbooks, but they're actually brought up quite a lot, so I want to make sure that they're covered. The first of them is called a cross section, and the second of them is called a longitudinal section. So a cross section is something that is divided sort of like this. Like something that is long is going to be divided, kind of cut against its length. It's cut horizontal to its length. So a cross section of a banana, for example, is the typical way that you slice a banana when you're slicing up a banana to put it on your cereal, for example. And pay attention to the shape that that makes. The shape that it makes is a circle. On the other hand, if you wanted to do a longitudinal slice of a banana, in that case, what you'd want to do is you would want to slice it longitudinally. You'd want to slice it along its length rather than against its length. So along its length would be like, for example, a banana split. If you were to slice a banana in such a way that you were to open it up to put some ice cream and wonderful sauces inside of there, that would be a longitudinal slice. And keep in mind then that if you do a longitudinal slice, this actually would look like a banana shape. All right, so the first of these we're going to take a look at, I think, would be the sagittal slice. So the sagittal slice is one that we talk about all the time. We are bilateral organisms. We are fairly symmetrical, bilaterally symmetrical. And so slicing something right down the middle in this way, right down the midline, yes, to divide into right and left sides, this is called a sagittal slice, and it's a very common one. I want you to be careful of the spelling here. I still struggle with the spelling of this word because it just doesn't really make a lot of sense. Sagittal is spelled with one G and two T's, so be careful. What we're looking at here is a specific type of sagittal slice called a mid-sagittal slice. So this divides the body or the organ into equal right and left sides. A parasagittal slice would divide the body or an organ into unequal right and left sides. So one of the worksheet questions we're going to have you do is thinking about slicing an eyeball. You don't have to do it. You're just going to draw it simply. You're going to draw an eyeball and you're going to slice it parasagittally. So it won't be right down the midline. It will be off to the side, but it will still be that same slice that where you're taking the left from the right. You know what I mean? Like you're dividing in this way, basically from anterior to posterior and longitudinally. All right, the next slice we're going to take a look at is called the frontal slice or the coronal slice. I find that a lot of students actually prefer the term coronal, but I always learned it as frontal, but they both mean the same thing. This divides the body or an organ into anterior and posterior portions. A transverse slice, and this is also called a cross section. This divides the body or organ into superior and inferior portions. And lastly, there's another type of slice that's not shown here. It's called an oblique slice. And this will come up just a few times. In this case, you'll be passing through the body or some organ of your body at an angle. It doesn't quite fit into these perfect lines, the X, Y, Z sort of planes, but it would be a different type of slice, maybe at an angle, for example.